Hello everyone, welcome to my channel. Please subscribe and keep watching more details. Counting on Jinger Duggar's book, Sexualized by Store. Counting on alum, Jinger Duggar Vullo is one of Jim, Bob, and Michelle's most hardworking daughters. She had already released multiple books. Some of them are for children. But the sixth Duggar child has also written a book about the questionable teachings of the IBLP. It's titled Becoming Free Indeed, which features her disentanglement from their strict beliefs. However, many Reddit users were shocked to see Jinger's book getting sexualized by an online store. Keep reading to see what happened. Counting on Jinger Duggar's book against the IBLP. In January 2023, Jinger released her book, Becoming Free Indeed. It quickly became a New York Times bestseller. The book tells the story of how the Counting on alum was able to renew her faith by solely studying the Bible. She also shared her struggles in her 20s, in which they had to follow the principles that Bill Gothard taught them. Jinger also shared how Jeremy influenced him to seek the truth through the Holy Scripture. Many were impressed that Jinger carefully laid her words without hurting her family, especially her parents, Jim, Bob, and Michelle, which may also be one of the main reasons why they're still in touch. Jinger's book, Sexualized by Store. Some Counting on fans on Reddit recently discussed a store that changed the cover photo for Jinger Duggar Vullo's memoir. According to the poster, they looked up Becoming Free Indeed online, but they were surprised to see the cover page being changed to the erotic book, 50 Shades Freed. Many were left scratching their heads about how a religious book turned into something mature. I just spit my drink out. That's hilarious. Edit. I do wonder if Jinger has read 50 Shades. Lol. That is hilarious. As a fan of the 50 Shades series, this is so funny to me. I have to send this to my sister lol. That's beautiful. No notes. Counting on Jinger Duggar to release a new book next year. Jinger Duggar Vullo also announced her upcoming book next year. The Counting on alum will release a title, People Pleaser. Breaking free from the burden of imaginary expectations. It features her story of how she broke free from the need for approval and how she discovered true freedom. It will also cover her childhood to early adulthood, which may provide more details about how Jim, Bob, and Michelle raised their kids behind cameras. Jinger's book will be released on January 14, 2025. Jinger Duggar Vullo's journey has been anything but conventional. From her days growing up under the stringent rules of the Duggar household on 19 kids and counting onto her recent transformation into a modern, independent woman, Jinger has become a symbol of resilience and personal growth. But as the dust settled after the release of her memoir, Becoming Free Indeed, controversy stirred when an unexpected twist emerged. Certain bookstores allegedly showcased her book with a marketing angle that many fans and critics found provocative, even accusing some stores of sexualizing its message. An unanticipated display. Walking into a brightly lit, mainstream bookstore, Jinger never expected to see her face staring back at her from a display that leaned more towards scandalous than solemn. Yet there it was, framed by glittering neon signs. Words like daring and liberation popped from the display as if heralding a steamy romance novel. The cover of her book, a simple, elegant portrait with neutral colors, seemed almost out of place among the vibrant, sensationalized headlines surrounding it. Her memoir delves into deep reflections on her upbringing within the strict circles of the Institute in Basic Life Principles, IBLP, led by Bill Gothard. It was a world where skirts had to be long, chaperones were mandatory, and conversations about intimacy were considered taboo, spoken of only in whispers or with cautionary warnings. The book itself was a heartfelt chronicle, tracing how Jinger unthreaded these beliefs one by one to rediscover herself and her faith on her own terms. But now, facing a display that leaned heavily into sensationalism, she felt as if a core piece of her story had been misunderstood, or worse, appropriated. A clash of cultures. Bookstores often have to toe a fine line between marketing and interpretation, especially when dealing with memoirs that touch on sensitive subjects like personal liberation and revaluation of childhood norms. Jinger's story, filled with both quiet moments of personal revelation and the weight of emotional wrestling, was a story of overcoming dogma rather than embracing sensational freedom. Yet, for some booksellers, the nuance was lost in translation. Critics and supporters alike began discussing the spectacle on social media. Isn't this just reducing Jinger's message? One user tweeted, attaching a picture of the display that had started it all. Another post, tinged with indignation, read, they're making her memoir seem like a tell-all scandal, but it's not that kind of story. Hashtags like hashtag respect their story and hashtag misinterpreted memoir trended as people debated whether such a display was an oversight or a deliberate attempt to boost sales through controversy. Jinger, meanwhile, watched as the fervor grew. Her memoir had been written to shed light on the shadowy corridors of extreme fundamentalism and to extend an understanding hand to others who might be feeling trapped by similar teachings. The chapters were filled with stories not only of restriction but of hope, questioning, and gradual liberation. But the overly flashy presentation risked tainting that narrative. Finding the heart of becoming free indeed. The controversy surrounding the book's display raised questions about what kind of freedom Jinger had meant to convey. To her, becoming free wasn't about rebellion for rebellion's sake or trading one set of shackles for another. It was about thinking critically, digging deeper into beliefs that had once been accepted as unassailable truth, and making peace with what resonated in her heart versus what had been imposed by others. For Jinger, stepping out from under the spotlight of reality TV and into the role of an author wasn't easy. She knew her story would challenge certain norms and might draw attention, but she never anticipated it would become fodder for a flashy marketing gimmick. The memoir's pages weren't intended to be salacious. They were an invitation to a deeper dialogue on the complex interplay between faith, upbringing, and autonomy. While some critics may have thought the uproar was overblown, arguing that displays are often designed with dramatic flair to catch the eye, others pointed out that when it comes to narratives as delicate as Jinger's, that very flair risks cheapening the core message. Was this a case of well-meaning intention gone awry, or was it indicative of how stories, especially those involving personal growth and belief, are commodified for profit? Jinger's response and public reaction. Amid the ongoing discussions, Jinger took to social media to share her thoughts. In a heartfelt video, she addressed the issue, her voice steady yet filled with emotion. "I wrote Becoming Free indeed not to sensationalize my past, but to share my truth and encourage others who might feel confined by traditions that don't align with their beliefs," she explained. "I hope that as people read it, they'll see the journey of discovering what freedom really means, beyond appearances and public perception." Support poured in from followers, many of whom shared how her story had impacted their own lives. Comments reflected a broad spectrum of experiences. "Your book gave me the courage to ask hard questions," wrote one user, while another noted, "It's so important for people to understand that finding freedom isn't always loud or glamorous. Sometimes it's quiet, and sometimes it's hard." In response to Jinger's video, some bookstores adjusted their displays, opting for more subdued, respectful presentations that reflected the introspective nature of her work. The controversy, while initially disheartening, had sparked valuable conversations about the portrayal of narratives in media and marketing. A new dawn for Jinger's message. In the end, Jinger's experience with the so-called sexualized book display underscored an enduring truth. Stories of freedom and personal evolution can be interpreted in many ways, but they deserve to be handled with care. As readers flipped through the pages of Becoming Free Indeed, Jinger hoped they would walk away not with an image crafted by marketing gloss, but with an understanding of a woman who dared to question, to grow, and to inspire others to do the same.